So we are from the Carbon and Sustainability Commission, and we want to present you something about the SDGs because it's a really important topic in our world. So, but we have first a question for you, whether you know about the SDG or how your knowledge is about it. So now, please try to, yeah, I see many are doing so. So just have a look. So I think it doesn't change anymore. So we have some who already know it really good. Oh, it's rising. And many have heard of them. So I think it won't be boring for you to hear a bit more, to get more information about the SDGs. And for them who've never heard of it, it should be really interesting because it's about the basic informations about the SDGs. Then I will continue with the goal 15, what is for IFSA, I think very important because it contains the forests. And then Dare will tell you something about the SDGs in real life from his experiences from Africa. So first, a small timeline. I think many of you know the UN conference, or the first UN conference on environment and development in Rio from 1922. It's also called Earth Summit, and there was the basic to change something in the world to protect the environment. Then 2000, there was the start of the Millennium Development Goals. This was like the SDGs, but it was before. And you see, it were only 8 goals. Then they also lasted 15 years, like the SDGs now should also do. So 2012, they came up to make the MDGs longer and to build new goals. So they are called SDGs. Then they were developed and then they replaced the MDGs in 2016, and they had 17 goals instead of 8 goals. So they are more precise. And as I already said, they are consisted for 15 years. So they will end 2030, and I think there will be something else afterwards. So the basic information is that we have 17 goals. You can see them at the right side. Then more precise are the targets and the indicator for the goals so that you can see what you exactly have to do for fulfilling the SDGs. The SDGs are also a guideline for international negotiations and decisions, for example, at the UN, if there is a conference. And very important is also that there is a connection between the SDGs. So, for example, if you build new forests, then that would be a point at land of life on land, but also a point at climate action because it fixes carbon. Then the structure and also the focus of the SDGs is on environment, society, and economy. So you can see here it again. There are some who are for economy, like goal 8, something for society, like goal 1, and for environment, it would be number 15, for example. So just have a look to what they are containing. So then to the structure. The basic of all these SDGs is the biosphere. So without the biosphere, we can't live, and it's necessary to make the basic to can afford at the other SDGs. So when you have a good biosphere, then you can go to the society. The society is, for example, important that you do education, and if you have good education, you can also rise the economy. So it's like a pyramid. You need the basic to fulfill the other goals, and then yeah, first you have to do the SDGs here in green, and afterwards it's possible to fulfill the other goals. Then we come to the goal 15, what is really important for us foresters, because it it treats the forest. So for example, there's the protection, the restoration, the promotion of sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, especially forests and grasslands, for example. Then very important is also that they want to make us a sustainable management of the forests and combating the desertification. And also important is to stop the land degradation, what is also included with desertification. And what's important all over the world is the biodiversity loss. So in Germany, we had some informations about it. So it's not only, we know that they fell the rainforest. It's also, for example, in Germany, a biodiversity loss. Then the targets, what are more precise as the general goal. There are only 3 who really mention the forests, and they have 12. I think the forests are a really big point in the environment and the life of land, because the main biodiversity is in forests. So it's sad that they're only mentioned in 3 targets. You can see there they are for conservation of ecosystem and sustainable management, what are in 15.2 and 15b. So then we have a small quiz for you again, and we wanted to know whether you have listened. So what is the SDG number 15? So I think everybody has listened, and now you also see the result. Yeah, it's life of land. That's very good that you have listened. Then now Derry will continue with the SDGs in real life in the view of Africa.
Hi guys, I'm Dare Adiagbo I'm speaking from Nigeria in Africa, and I'll be speaking on SDGs in real life. So if you're excited, you're with me, just click a yes in the comments section so I can go on. All right. Before we go on in the presentation, as you can see on the screen, I would just like to know how many of us here have been to Africa before. Wow, that's a great lot. And it's very important for us to just know it's part of the real life experiences that we'll just like to talk about briefly. So the next slide. All right. As we have the SDGs, that's the Sustainable Development Goals, as a global target. So we have the Sustainable Development Goals Center for Africa. This is the center that coordinates activities and events about the SDGs within the African continent. And as you can all see on the screen, it's about ensuring that the all African countries achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by year 2030. So as well as the values and their virtues. Yes, Philip. Now, there are certain structural constraints even to the SDGs in Africa, which we'll have to know so that it's when we are certain about the problems in Africa, that's when we can try and bring up solutions in solving them. And from there, we see a sluggish agricultural productivity. In most regions of Africa, they see agriculture as a poor man activities which affect the level of productivity and acceptance within most regions, making them uh, unable to self-sustain themselves, as well as poor infrastructure, provision of basic amenities in the real sense to help to achieve these set goals are not available in terms of power supply, water, electricity, good road system, access roads, and many others. And these are realities that Africa at the moment are battling with in various forms. And in these forms limit the achievements of the sustainable development goals so far. So, of course, when there's poor infrastructures and the likes, it will bring about low income syndrome. There'll be decline in labor and demographic changes. And most of it all is encompassed by weak governance. Next. So with this, I'll just like us to see, do you think Europe should be concerned about sustainable forestry in Africa? So you can just go to dementi.com and with the code, I believe you use that and just answer that. Okay. I can see a lot of people are saying yes, some maybe, and okay, for now, nobody is saying no. Okay, the no's are coming in quite now. Um, the main effect for this is to understand more why and what the SDGs as a sustainable development goals stand for. It's not something restricted to specific countries or communities. And a better understanding of the SDGs will help us know that presently we're experiencing a pandemic, and the world can't afford to have an environmental pandemic because an environmental pandemic has no cure. Its only remedy is for it never to happen. So in this sense, it's not just only about Europe. Africa as well should be concerned about sustainable forestry in Europe. The same goes with other continents. So next slide. So as Philip said in the earlier slides, you get to know, or something of note is the SDG goals have interactions between them. So we see that among the 17 goals that we have for the Sustainable Development um, Program, Africa is only partly on track even to meet three goals. which are gender equality, that's goal 5, and climate action, which is goal 13, and life on land. These are the only 3 areas in the goals, according to the Sustainable Development Center for Africa, that significant progress can be said to have been seen so far, which is still limited. It's the reality Africa is still facing. More so, we said there are no data for SDGs 10, 11, and 12 as we have there. And those SDG 10 is talking about reduced inequalities. 11 is talking about sustainable cities and communities, while 12 is talking about responsible consumption and production. So for these 3 goals, Africa has no data concerning them. Social inclusion progress are stripped by population growth. So we see that in Africa we have over 33 million babies every year, and the level at which the society is trying to include this is being hampered by the overpopulation that is experienced in Africa as a whole, the continent. Of course, when such thing happen, poverty is inevitable, and there's a lot of malnourishment. Can say 280 million Africans are malnourished. 63 million children experience stunted growth. These are due to poverty and hunger. So, and the forecast is for SDG 1, which is no poverty; 2, zero hunger; 3, good health and well-being; 4, talking about quality education; 5, talking about gender equality; 6, talking about clean water and sanitation; and 7, that's talking about affordable and clean energy. So, say only the northern part of Africa are likely to meet up with these goals, while the central part of Africa are far behind, are unlikely to meet at all, and other regions are modestly on track. Next. Okay. To better understand what sustainable forestry it's all about. So I just came up with this, and you get more involved in the next slide. So I just said the present is referring to where we are now, and the future, it's the nearest place we will be. So to this, what word describes forest sustainability to you? So what do you think describe forest sustainability to you? So you can just go to your phone, minty.com, and enter the code, and you'll be able to add few words that you feel describes forest sustainability to you. Okay, so you can see some biodiversity. Okay, okay, sustentation, regeneration. All right, so we are doing very well. Um, so we see the what the notion we carry for sustainability influences the action we take. So if it's very important for us to have a broad idea of what it is, because that is what that's what influences the actions we take. So next. All right. Because of constraints, we will want to dwell more on goal 15, talking about the life on land. And in looking into that, the life on land has its own targets. From the slides Philip showed us earlier, we will see that aside the 17 we have several targets and indicators. So, and for goal number 15, in assessing it is the rate at which areas are being protected, the ability to restore some of these areas that have been degraded, and promoting this in various forms. And success have been recorded in these areas across Africa, because now part of way to promote sustainability is trying to work with the citizens and indigenes with their different mother languages, to make sure that everyone around are carried along, and they understand well what the SDG program is actually talking about. Yeah, Philip. So far, looking deeply into this goal, we can see certain level of progress across biodiversity, across the freshwater areas, across the mountain areas. And this data we're seeing to have progressed right from the period where the SDGs came into play. So we see that the biodiversity level have been improved from 31.1% to 46.1% across other areas from the freshwaters and mountain, which is a good thing in being conscious about our environment. So yeah, next. Okay, so this is just to show us an overview of the protected areas across Africa. They are represented in the color green. So to see the level of progress that African have been able to see, and areas that are still needed, and actions that we still need to take collectively in making sure that the world is sustained. So, would like to ask a brief quiz question. Daniel, what is the largest forest in Africa? So, is it the Congo Basin, the Kavango Basin, or the other options? Okay, let's move to the next slide. I don't know. Sorry, are we getting this? So if you have been able to vote, please let us know at the comment section. Okay, are we done with that?
Maybe we wait a few more answers.
Philip, can you go to the last slide, please? So, yeah, this one. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, you can write also your opinions on what do you think about the SDGs. Are they a good idea? Are they achievable? What changes do you need can be made? How can we come into it, both in our different continents and individually, collectively? So it's an open-ended question. You can just bring in your suggestions. Okay, it's a good start. Very important. Okay, yeah. Okay, these are great comments, and we hope to act more on them as time goes on. Okay. All right. Thank you all. I think that will be all from me. I hope you all got something from the presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Dare and Philip. Thank you very much to the audience. If the audience wants to know more about it, you can scan this code or just Google SDGs, and then you can find more.